Running Sentences presents The Train Headed Nowhere. Part 7. The Hunt for Karl. Fresh off of his questioning, Drex now finds himself in tow with Domina as they hunt for Karl before others can get to him. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunnery. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, and/or events, plus fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on, is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Hunnery. All rights reserved. With a stare, Drex stood there, studying the fact that Domino was right there behind him. And right behind her stands Lucy and Maple, both looking on curiously, and neither in handcuffs or any bonds that would stop them from moving about. "What is this? You met the GTX agent aboard the train? How didn't I know about this? Where is he? I would need to talk to him," Maple said. "How did I not know about it either? Why is the GTX agent here?" Lucy demanded to know. "Well, Maple, me and Lucy, maybe he came aboard on the latest drop-off, the one where the new workers showed up, right? How does that work, Domina?" She sighs and pushes past, heading for the train door on the far side that would let her into a safe, comfortable compartment. The wind was blowing out here, and even in the train connector, which was slightly covered and had walls, but still wasn't completely encapsulated. The train automatically slows down at spots on the map. When the time is right, they drop into the energy cars up front. The ones near the engine itself, Domino? Yes, those ones. The old workers are sucked out and the new ones dropped in. I'm not entirely sure how the whole thing works, and now that I think about it, there's probably 2 stations, one for the old workers and one for the new ones to come in. Makes things easier," Domina added. She is now at the door, pulling it open and signal for all of them to follow. Lucy, free of her bond, charges past first, with Maple following in short order. "This place is just way too weird. I don't get it at all." The next car was a busy one, thanks to a lounge area that had been set up. It was also a busy office space with plenty of people, drinks, with business work being intermingled amongst all of it. Drex stops at the door, looking around for signs of Corey or the agent he'd just seen, but among the noise and crowd, if they were there, he was struggling to spot them. "What you looking for?" "The 2 I was talking to before." "So what do they look like, then?" "Well, I'm sure you've seen Corey, the little old man who's spry and weird. The other one was a strong man, but his looks were hidden in a nice suit, I guess. He doesn't really stand out much." That sounds like a secret agent. And you're going to spot him in this mess of people?" Maple said. Offering a shake of his head, no, Drex presses forward and begins the search for them, despite the fact that he figures he's not going to find them. Maple then grabs a hold of his arms, sticking close by and staying in step with him. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Keeping an eye on you." "Did Domina tell you to do that, or is this a you thing?" They skirt their way about the crowd, managing to avoid most of them as they move. Table by table, they look at those sitting and standing nearby them. Maple had yet to respond, which made Drex nervous, since it was a really simple question. What thoughts would she even need to collect about this situation to provide an answer? They were fast approaching the end of the other end of this train car before she did speak up. "A bit of both, really." "What does that mean? She told you to do it and you're just doing it on your own? How? What? And what are you getting out of all of this that keeps you wanting to seek whatever it is at the end of all of this?" "I believe I told you that I get information from all of this. That is my business, after all. As for the other thing, Domina told me to find what I could, and then let me get to it. You, from what I've seen so far, attract things to you that want to be found. How? Why would you know that? She let out a small chuckle of a laugh. Well, you found me, Lucy, and Domina came to you, and then had your boss and the GTX agent all come to you. You draw things to you, and it's really obvious. As much as he wants to try and deny things that might be possible, he can see where she's coming from. He could not deny it, so it might be better to take some better angle to get away from this being about him. Why do you want to find this agent? I've never seen one before, and well, isn't that funny? That sounds like a lie. You should have gone with the fact that you might get information from him. It would have been much more believable, Miss Maple. Thought of it. Sounded a bit cliché, to be honest. He pauses for a moment to take in the room and see if he can spot an elevator or stairs that would lead upwards and give him somewhere else to explore. His mind told him that it is possible that his boss, Corey, and the agent made it across the room without being spotted and were now moving further down the cars. It also kept saying that going up might be a quicker way to disappear. Have you ever done business in this car before? I'm wondering if there is more to it than what lies before us. You mean another level to it? Well, yes, there is that. No, I've never worked in here since it is so stuffy and people don't like people. And, well, I like information, but actually dealing with people is always a bit much. I want to go upstairs. You wouldn't happen to know where a stairway up is? He felt her give a shrug with the way his arm moved in her hands. The need to curse and say something or anything to have a better idea of all the things around him was almost crushing him. Nothing apparently could be done without someone else, and they all did so little to actually help him. Wait, follow me. What? The words were almost out of his mouth before he caught a hold of them, asking what had been reflexive and not actually a question with thought behind it. Drex is still looking about for any further signs of those two, which is the foremost on his mind. I think I've spotted an elevator over there. What? Great, where? Drex said, trying to keep up. I said, follow me, idiot. The two moved towards a bar area where there was being a variety of drinks served. From alcohol to coffee or other drinks, though it mostly appeared to be alcohol. The bartender closest to them holds up a hand to approach a gap in the bar that would allow them behind. What do you need? The bartender asked. We want to go up to the second floor, Maple said. Yes, we're quite busy, so if you could hurry and let us pass, Drex added. Why should I? The password is corny objects. Corny objections. That should get us past you, won't it? Maple said. There was a minor, tense moment as the bartender looks conflicted about letting them pass. His face wears a worried expression as he stares them down. We work for the train. Either let us pass or get someone who we can talk to who will let us go past, Drex tried to command. You don't understand. I can't let strangers up there without proper clearance, the bartender said, miffed at the sudden discussion of getting past. Well, she gave you some weird password. So you don't want to. We're going either way. The nervous bartender was reaching for something under the bar, which Drex instantly reaches to stop. He grabs a hold of the slim arm, which in his hand felt like it could not pull away. It is nice for that moment to actually have some strength compared to others. Excuse us, Maple said as she slips past and opens the elevator doors, to which Drex quickly follows. The cramped space of the elevator provides enough room for 2 people, and barely that. Maple slips the door shut and then turns to the panel beside them. then only read 1, 2, and 3 before looking back at him. "Which would you like to try?" she asked. Top floor seems like the too obvious choice, so let's see what's up there and hope for the best. They step out a few seconds later into the hallway. A nice rug under their feet, and everything looked dust-free for this nice space, though oddly enough none of it looked opulent, which Drex had sort of been expecting. Instead, there is a plainness to it that borders almost on boring. Drex looks down the hallway in both directions to get a feel for it, but shakes his head. There isn't much to make of this place. "Well, it looks like none of those doors are marked from what I can see. Shall we go knock on some of them?" "You think that someone will answer the door?" "Why not, mister? They are a business, and one that wants customers." With a quick step, Maple steps up to a nearby door, knocking on the first one that comes into her grasp. "Are you sure that's a good idea? None of these places are probably friendly to us." "To you, you mean? They don't mind me one bit in what I might propose to their business, since I'm a business person." He was about to say something more as she knocks on the door, not waiting for further word from him. There is also the fact that he can't seem to come up with anything more to say about any of this, so he sort of shuts up and waits. "Yes, who is it?" "My name is Maple, and I'm in search of a Mr. Snark or a Mr. Corey. That's all I know of their names," Drex said in a rush of words. "Great. A lot of help that is, Drex." She repeats the name at the door as the door creaks open a fraction more, and they can make out the eye of a person peering at them. "Why?" "Why what?" Drex asked back. "I believe you can work out the second part of that question on your own, mister. There is no need for me to further elaborate. Thank you." "They're up to no good and potentially causing harm to the train, right?" "Potentially, yes, Maple." "Well, I might know of people with those names, but without much more than that, I cannot say for certain if that is the right person." The grimmest Drex steps further forward, at the same old problem he's been having up and down this train. Not enough of a description to go on, and those that do offer help barely offer much. The Mr. Snark is a bit of a willowy man, tall, strong, sharp-looking, business suit that sort of suits him, but not properly, blends in. What does that last sort of bit mean? The suit bit? Or the suit bit? That he wears it poorly. Can you help us? They may be up here on this level, as they were seen coming into this car." A bit of a grumble emerges from the man, loud enough for them both to hear this dissatisfaction with them bothering him. "Check the door to your right at the end of the hallway. That is all I can offer." "Thank you." The door snaps shut crisply before the words are fully out of Drex's mouth. With a shake of his head, he turns to look down the hallway. If those two are at the end of the hallway in that room, then what was he even doing confronting them? Stopping them? Supporting them? What was this all about? Getting more information? That would be terrible. "Are you ready?" Maple had already gone down the hallway and to the door and was knocking on it while he finds himself still by the first one that they'd knocked on. Taking a few steps forward, he finds himself shaking his head still. What does this accomplish? For you, maybe nothing. For me, a whole lot, potentially. Does it really? He asked Maple. I said potentially. It's not guaranteed. You and your information, like it's going to get you out of the trouble you now find yourself in. Oh, it will. You will have to wait and see, though. The door flew open, and out steps Snark, looking at both of them wildly and annoyed as Drex now steps up to the area. It takes a few seconds, but a grin soon crosses his face. You want something? Is this the man you're seeking, Drex? Yes, that is the GTX agent you also wanted to talk to. I don't know what you're talking about. What is this GTX agent, and what's it got to do with me, a regular old worker? Snark protested. My name is Maple, and I need your help. She's a business person who deals in information and knows about rebels aboard the train. You were interested in such things. Snark, though, is continuing to feign his ignorance of them and looks each of them up and down with a slight, blank expression. I don't know either of you, so go away. Now, Drex, this is the right guy, right? Yes, but I guess you can't expect a government agent to outright admit that they're an agent doing secret shit. He's got to at least pretend that it isn't him. Hurry up and go inside, and he will probably be more than willing to talk. With a grin, she manages to barge past him, to the surprise of the agent, who looks about angrily and then finds himself backpedaling into the room. While it was not a spacious office, it was filled with tech and computers that Agent Snark could use should he need it. It is on the verge of overwhelming the senses with all the things that were going on, which then makes Maple stop for a second, and then take another step inside. Snark has made a move to grab her arm to stop her, which then allowed Drex to sneak in to get a look. What do you think you're doing? My job, which is similar to your job, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Snark, is it? Or what's your name again? Mr. GTX agent? Information needs to be traded to help you, to help me, and to help Mr. Drex over there. I don't know, Snark said in protest. She's good at getting people to agree with her. Best to go along with the agent and to see where things take you. As Mr. Drex says, Mr. Agent, I can offer you the world if you're willing to listen and barter. How? You don't even know what I need. He listened for a moment more, but then Drex let the conversation just play out without him listening, taking this moment to really look around and head towards a nearby desk. Papers were everywhere here, and rather easy to read. If they could point him in the right direction, all the better, though it likely wasn't going to be simple or easy, or without notice from the agent. What do you need to know about the rebels or the elite aboard this train? I already know more than enough to fill the files in 3 offices. The conversation between the two continued. The desk Drex finds himself next to has a couple of interesting files that he can see on the tops. Those ones read Captain Karl with a familiar mug of a picture on it. He opens it up to take a look and throws a glance towards the agent to see that he's still arguing with Maple. He flips the cover open further to see what it will offer. Stop sneaking around, sir, Snark suddenly snapped. Me? Who else would I be talking to? This one is standing right in front of me, not trying to read my files. Well, forgive me, but you came to me asking questions. I feel it is only fair that I get some stuff back in return for my work. So what are you finding out about, Mr. Drex? He picks up the file and turns it over towards them so that they can see it. The file of Captain Karl, engineer aboard the last train to safety. So what's this about? What do you mean the last train to safety? Maple inquired. That's not the question for me. That's a question for Mr. Agent here. I am a simple engineer who was given a job to drive the engine and now finds himself with other jobs as well. It's the last train as it says. There's nothing more to it, Snark complained to their questions. Drex lets out a snort of a laugh and shakes his head. A loaded statement and an avoided answer. Not surprising. Should I read more of this or no? I doubt it will answer any questions, but it might add more of them, and I like information, so yes, go ahead. You should not do that. It's nothing more than a few facts about his connections with other groups. Some of those goods, most bad. Nothing great in there. So is that you admitting that you're being a spy of some sort then? Maple asked of Snark. The agent turns on Maple. No, I'm gathering facts about people aboard the train. No different than you, I suppose. A slightly different job. Don't you agree, Miss Maple? She merely turns her head back towards Drex. What does the file say? Connections with the GTX, the Gabled Group, and the Train Association. Yes, we have a connection to him, but it is a rather brief one and it is not great. I would like to say that before you jump onto it and think anything of it. So what is this then, and why do you have files on everyone here? Drex asked. Just those who are important, yes. Most of the staff, since it's our job to keep an eye on those who want to do bad. The agent hurried over towards their desk, grabbing a file off of it. With it in their hands, they turn back and wave it towards Maple and Drex. You see this file that shows who was a troublemaker and who isn't. A great file to have, but it is useless. Because we're aboard the last train to safety? Drex tried to guess. No, Mr. Drex, because it includes practically everyone aboard except for the new staff. Oh, okay, that's great and all, but we don't really care. We want Karl, or I do, since I'm not so sure what Maple wants. Direct me towards him and I will leave you all alone to do whatever it is you're doing. You don't really care about this being the last train, Drex. It's curious, sure, Maple, but I've learned curiosity is a terrible thing to have and to be on a train. Yes. Now go away unless you want to get killed by rebels and other factions who don't want any information getting out. You mean by Karl? You think Karl is going to kill me or for trying to find him? No, whoever he's working with or for will kill you for him. Realizing the fact that that's probably true, Drex nods his appreciation at the warning. He still wasn't going to stop, but it was nice to know, and it isn't going to do the least bit of good since he has no choice in his current job. But still, nice to know on some level. Why would you care if Mr. Drex dies or not? Miss Maple, it is none of your concern, Snark said. It is my concern, since it is the one thing that doesn't make sense at the moment. You should want him dead, yet you're showing concern. Why? Mr. Drex is a loose end. He isn't a concern. The agent tosses the file in his hands into the air, accidentally losing his grip on it and sprinkling the papers all over the place. Drex finds himself looking at them, and then plucks out one that floats nearest to him out of the air. Last passenger added to this train manifest before it took off. Why is this paper in your stacks? As I said, the file is about all the people aboard the train. We collect everything to be safe, and we don't know where anyone is unless they do something stupid and stand out. So you're saying that Karl hasn't done anything stupid? Maple asks. No, he really hasn't. In fact, he's done something amazing. He's fucking vanished from the train. Yet everyone says that he's still aboard. So it's your job to find him then. Perhaps giving Drex the last known spot, and off he goes to find him, will have better results than you trying to find him. Shall I leave you two to discuss the trade for secret information as long as you give me that location, and I'll go see what I can find? Exactly as you say, Drex. You don't want to be further involved with me and in me, and my talks to get information. That much you've plainly made clear that you don't want that. So, we should all move on with this. Give Drex the information, and I will share information, and you can share information back, Mr. Agent. I have no reason to give that to you or even trust either of you. What are you even offering me at the moment? A solution agent. Drex gets rid of this Karl, and potentially Lucy, and you get one less headache to deal with. Well, then why isn't he offering it? The agent points towards Drex, who is simply standing there wondering what else he should be doing. Because you two are speaking for me? I thought that much was obvious since you've been doing it since the start of all of this. Shush, Drex. The adults are talking about getting things done for once. A deal that needs to be struck so you can move on to your important little things. You don't want to ruin that, do you? Feeling like he was taking crazy pills, Drex felt like his entire world was slipping way, way out of control. He also recognized at the last second that he may never have been in control in the first place. Hold on. Does the GTX even want Karl or Lucy in the first place? Well, we'd like to question them about what they know, and of course they'd probably refuse to talk. But you, Mr. Drex, certainly aren't going to get to them. There's no possible way. They've disappeared. Well, no, I don't agree with that. Maple got Lucy easily enough and had her under your nose. I can get to them probably and get them to talk. How? With a smirk and a shake of his head, Drex addresses the agent. He actually had no idea how he might try it, but maybe a bluff could be good right about now. By talking. What else would you do in these types of situations where torture can't be done, since everyone is so close together? Drex asked. You have something you're going to request in return, no doubt. If you do, best make it now so that I can turn you down and make sure you never request anything ever again. I want to know where this train is going. Well, that's simple. I don't know. I wasn't told. But you know it is the last one to safety, right? What does that mean? It means that there's a lot of wars and battles being fought, both real and on the maps of kings and rebels, and that they're all being fought, and that these last few people were all lucky enough to get a train ride away from all of it. But the government is keeping an eye on the whole thing, right? Maple interjected. Of course they are, Maple. We do this sort of thing when things aren't fine. We have these sort of plans for when things are fine and when they aren't. Appearances must be kept up that things are all good. Drex felt his face crinkle at the comment, since it is an odd one to consider. Why would appearances need to be kept when no one on this train probably cared an iota about that? Well, do you know the general location of where this train might go? Drex asked. There are 3 safe spots. The bridge, the mountains, and the edge of the cliffs. None of those sounded remotely true to Drex, who had not heard of any of them, nor seen any of them on the map, not as locations for hiding a train and its occupants anyway. Maybe they were around, but not along the train tracks. Right, you didn't actually turn down answering Drex's question, so you're willing to agree to our terms? No, of course not. I don't care about what you've got. It won't help me. But it will help your government with some stuff they want to know. The agent stiffens at that, his whole body and attention now severely on Maple. But, sir, you do have to give Drex the location of where you think Karl is in return for it. How good is your information, miss? Best in the business at getting it to where it should go for the most damage. Fine. Mr. Drex, look at the ruby marble quarters. 2nd floor, there will be only one room. He likes to hang out there. It wasn't that Drex didn't trust this information. He didn't. He knew he had no way to verify it until he could actually get there, so it was best to sort of think that it was all sort of a trap. He gave both of them a long look to see if there was anything further from them. Just so I'm sure, I didn't pass it from the workers' quarters to get here, right? No, you didn't. It's further down towards the end of the train. With a slow, careful step, Drex moves towards the door, never letting his eyes off of either of them. Nothing happens as he reaches for the door and slips out. Emerging from the elevator, Drex finds himself in front of two police officer-looking fellows. Both hold batons that were menacingly being tapped against their hands. He had thought that something like this might happen, but also slightly had forgotten all about it since the crazy conversation upstairs. "Gentlemen, I take it the nearby bartender called you." "Yes, what do you think you're doing?" "My work and my assignment from a higher authority than you." A snicker goes between the two cops, who grin at him. "Do you have proof?" "Well, if you find my boss Domina, who's around here, then yes. If not, then no." "That isn't good enough for us," the first officer said. "Are you taking me to jail, then?" "What do you think, smarty?" the other officer said as they banged their baton against their hand harder. They both stepped forward in a very in sync moment, and each grabbed at his arms. Drex could easily read the name tags on each of them. One was Officer Brown and the other Officer Mole. He was unsure if fighting back was a good idea at this moment, so he simply let this happen. "Be careful with me, I'm sure you don't want to get yourselves dirty." "Why would we get dirty?" Officer Brown asked. "Well, I'm a worker aboard the train, and I've been all around it, so like most workers, I collect dirt and dust. I wouldn't want to see your uniforms get dirty since they're in such nice shape." They merely shake their heads as they begin pulling him away and down the train. The trip through this place was not a pleasant one for Drex, who was sometimes dragged and sometimes allowed to walk through the cars. It depended on the mood of the officers at the moment, and that kept changing between the cars. Their arrival at the Ruby Marble quarters, though, made him get to his feet as best he could. Do you two mind stopping here for a moment?" "We will do no such thing," Officer Brown declared. "Our station aboard this train is at risk if we do not uphold the rules." "No, I really do doubt that, Officer Mold." Are you asking for a beating so we don't have to listen to you say such things to us?" Officer Mold said. "No, I'm saying you've been treating me poorly this whole time. That should go against any of the credo that the police have." "Why should we have a credo about taking care of a prisoner? That's not our job." Drex grins to Officer Brown, as he figures they won't have thought very far into this matter. "Because if you don't do that, you will piss off the bosses." "What do they care about one useless worker, mister?" "Well, Mold, they care a lot, since it can ruin their plans if the right people aren't in the right place, Officer Mold. That's what I've been trying to say about this car if you would have let me speak earlier. If we stop here, it leaves me in a good position to do some good." "What good?" "Yeah, what are you talking about?" He looks between Officer Brown and then Officer Mold, who talked to him in that order, each keeping a good hold on his arms. "There is a worker here who is a criminal, and I'm here at the right moment so that they can be stopped. Then you'll have bagged a person that don't belong on the train, and you'll have bagged me as well." The grip on his arm lightened, if only a little bit, which was either good or bad. Drex wasn't entirely sure at that moment, and is afraid to even try to break out of their grip. In a snap decision, he stays where he is, trying to put on a chipper attitude and make him seem like he knew what he was talking about. "You expect us to believe that? You swindle a tale out of nothing and have nothing to back it up? We shouldn't listen to a Mold." "Agreed, Brown. There is only one thing for this type of criminal. Off the back of the train, I agree, Officer Brown said. It's the only place for scum like this, Mold said in agreement. Excuse me, but no, officers. They came to a stop, having gotten him halfway across this car already. He now starts to struggle to free himself from the grasp, but they're doing a great job of holding on tight. You don't get a say in this. Mr. Brown, yes I do, because I can see the criminal I'm chasing right in front of me. In a slightly involuntary motion, both cops look forward through the car, which isn't all too busy with people. There are plenty, though, that are staring at them, taking in the odd sight in conversation. Drex smiles to the group and takes in a breath, since he's going to need it to get anywhere with this lot. Mr. Karl, I see you, Drex shouted out. Shut up, criminal. Me or the rebel who's trying to escape, Mold? You're talking a big game for someone who's in a lot of trouble, Officer Brown declared. There is, however, quite a commotion as someone begins to run, pushing their way through a few people. Officer Brown was the last one to speak, stiffens at this, and as they watch this effort to get away. It was a surprise to Drex, since the attempt was more of a foolish plan with no real evidence behind it. He hadn't actually seen Karl, he just kind of thought he saw him. Now, though, both cops were freezing up and looking towards the escapee that had been shouted at. Who is that? Well, Mold, that would be Captain Karl, an engineer for the train, and one that is wanted by all sorts of people. He's planning things that are bad for the train, so you better go chase him. And what about you? Do we forget all about you while we're at that? Brown quizzed. Well, that would be very, very nice, but no. I'm going to help you chase him, officer. What is even going on here? What do you think, Brown? There's lots of things, gentlemen, but if you really want to know, you have to let me go, and Officer Mold and Officer Brown chase after that man. End of Part 7 of The Train Headed Nowhere. Thank you for listening.